What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU podcast. As always, thank you for joining me. So in this quick rundown episode, I will take a look at the key opposing hitters and pitchers that LSU will face this weekend, and then I will give you my 3 keys to the weekend for the Tigers. As a reminder, if you want the full preview episode, that can be found on the YouTube page. It is also available in podcast form or on all major audio platforms. Make sure to check out the Twitter account. The handle for Twitter is at 60FT, 6IM, LSU Pod. Thank y'all for joining me, so let's get into it.
Now, when you look at some key hitters and pitchers, I really think the hitters stand out to me. And regardless of their record, as I mentioned, they have 3 or 4 guys that you really have to be aware of, potentially more. But 3 or 4 guys, when I go through the scouting report, I know they were there last year. I previewed them in the SEC preview pods, and it's just guys I would highlight right off the bat. The first guy is a transfer from Samford, and he has done fabulous this year. I heard a lot, read a lot about him. People were excited about him coming to the conference this year, and he has lived up to the hype. His name is Colton Ledbetter. He plays center field for those guys. He is hitting .318, which leads the team. He has 11 home runs, 43 walks, and only 28 strikeouts. So a fabulous job of him getting on base. And when he gets on base, he is not afraid to run, as he is 17 for 18 in stolen bases this year. Colton Ledbetter is going to hit, I think he's going to hit 2 in the order probably. Somebody you have to keep off base. Following him in the lineup is going to be their power guy. His name is Hunter Hines, by far the biggest power threat in that lineup. Hines is hitting .313, so just off the Ledbetter .318 average. He leads the team with 22 home runs, which is actually top 5 in the country. So massive power threat from Hines. 57 RBIs, but he does have 54 Ks though. So, right, big swing and miss guy, but he can run a ball out the yard in a hurry. Kellum Clark, another veteran guy for state this year. He's going to be an outfielder. He hits in the middle of the order as well. Clark is hitting .302 on the year with 10 home runs. And to me, he's a solid veteran player who's been through the battles and the wars in the SEC. And obviously, he is on, I believe he's a senior, on his last leg. So he's going to fight with tooth and nail. But Kellum Clark, somebody to be on the lookout for as well. Another guy that's really burst onto the scene lately, and when you look at him, he looks like he should have a helmet and pads on because he looks like an SEC running back. That's how this young man is built. But freshman Dakota Jordan, he's fun to watch if you're an opposing team, not a lot of fun to face. So he has really just burst onto the scene. I don't know if y'all saw what they call Super Bulldog Weekend at Mississippi State, but they played Ole Miss in for the series, and he hits a walk-off home run. They run all the way out to the center field. Dak Prescott's there selling out. It was a really cool scene to see. Obviously, none of us are, just a cool scene to see from the outside, and having that young man just go nuts on Super Bulldog Weekend. That's when they set the national attendance record for the largest watched regular season college baseball game in the country. All right, enough of that. Dakota Jordan, massive power. So when I talk about power, think Jared Jones type power in a freshman's body. He's hitting .297 with 8 home runs, and I've seen some highlights of this year. When he runs it out the yard, I mean, he's run balls out .430, .440, .450 this year, so he can absolutely swing it, and he's moved into the middle of that order as well. And then finally, the last guy I want to highlight is transfer Amani Larry, second baseman. He transferred from UNO. He had a great year last year for Blake Dean and the Privateers, and since moving over to the SEC, Larry is hitting .294, and he has more walks than Ks. And he's towards the bottom of that order. And the problem with Larry, just like Ledbetter, is when he gets on base, he can fly. He is 19 of 21 in stolen bases this year. So you're going to have 2 guys that can run, Ledbetter and Larry, one at the top, one at the bottom. The power guys. Ledbetter can run it out the yard, but you really got to highlight Hunter Hines, Kellum Clark, Dakota Jordan. I know Slade Alford, can run some out the yard, but he's hitting around .230. I really didn't touch on him too much. Also, 2 other freshmen along with Dakota Jordan that have popped up on the scene recently is shortstop David Mershon, little lefty leadoff guy if he starts. And then you finally have catcher Ross Highfield, who's not hitting for a great average, but he has 8 home runs on the year in his freshman campaign. Now, flipping the switch to their pitchers for Mississippi State, and it's really been mostly the same guys all year, except their ace, Cade Smith, did go down with an injury, but now he has bounced back. He was out for a couple of the weeks, And look, I got burned last weekend when I predicted Auburn's pitching lineup. I thought Tommy Vale, the lefty ace, would throw on Friday against Skenes, but Auburn did really a smart move, right? They were playing chess, not checkers, as they decide not to waste Vale against Skenes, which was a smart move because Skenes was dominant. And so they moved him to Saturday to face up with Ty Floyd. And if I had to guess, I would imagine State's going to stick with what they've been doing. Okay. So that means I predict, I don't assume, I just predict State will start right handed pitcher Cade Smith, who was their ace, who did get hurt, but he's back now. Smith, 7 games started. He is 1-2 with a 5.62 ERA, 32 innings pitched, 28 hits. He does have 33 Ks, but he also has 19 walks as he continues to round into form. Going back and looking at some of the stats, he has thrown very well in 3 of the last 4 SEC outings. I'm talking like 6 innings pitched, 4 or 5 hits, 1 or 2 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. That's kind of been his average line the last 3 or 4. 3 out of 4 SEC outings, so he is on a little bit of a heater. Saturday, I think State will throw Memphis transfer right-handed pitcher Landon Gartman. They were high on him in the preseason. Obviously, he's done what he's supposed to do. I highlighted him in the Mississippi State preview podcast all the way back in February. Gartman does have a high ERA, though, right? 7.25. He is 2-3 on the year with 11 games started. Gartman has thrown 49 2/3 innings pitched, 51 hits, 25 walks, 47 Ks. Okay. So it looks like he's a little bit of a contact guy. He can strike guys out, but he's also given up a lot of hits. 11 games started for Gartman and only 49 innings pitched, 49 2/3. So he's right about 4 1/3 innings pitched per outing, which is not great. So if you're LSU hitters, you really want to get in State's bullpen this weekend. A good way is you got to get Gartman out the game on Saturday. And then finally on Sunday, I'm really interested to see this kid throw. He kind of took college baseball by storm, being an unbelievably talented kid as he's ambidextrous. He throws, I think he throws mid to upper 90s with his right hand, his low hand, he's low 90s. He's done it, thrown right and left in both games. So if you haven't seen this kid pitch, go back and watch some highlights because it's crazy. Now, he is a freshman, right? And he's had some freshman growing pains, and his stats bear that out. But on Sunday, I would imagine State will start freshman ambidextrous pitcher Urangelo Cincha. And I don't think I'm saying that right, but Urangelo Cincha, okay? 11 games started for the freshman, 3-4 record, 7.2 ERA, 45 innings pitched, 59 Ks, so very impressive by that young man, more Ks than innings pitched, but he does have 32 walks. So 45 innings pitched, 59 Ks, but man, he walks a lot of hitters at 32. In terms of their bullpen, look, they have some guys with some high ERAs, but they also have some guys with some really, really good stuff and some high velocity guys. And I'd imagine LSU could see a bunch of these guys throughout the weekend just due to the nature of Mississippi State's pitching staff. But I missed on Auburn. Auburn had bad pitching stats going into last weekend, but it seems like they figured that one out. So I kind of got burned on that prediction. Auburn has really turned the corner with regards to South Carolina and LSU. But when you look at State, I would imagine guys like right-handed pitcher Nate Dome, 15 appearances. He has the lowest ERA on the staff at 3.76, 47 Ks in 40 innings pitched. So he's been a really workhorse out of the pen this year for State. They also have right-handed pitcher Casey Hunt, who leads the team in appearances at 20, but his ERA is astronomical, right? 10.02 ERA, 45 Ks, and 32 1/3 innings pitched. So Casey Hunt definitely has swing and miss stuff. Right-handed pitcher Aaron Nixon has kind of acted as a little bit of a closer, it seems like. 1.76 ERA, so fabulous by that young man. 13 appearances, 2 saves, 20 Ks, and 15 innings pitched. I guess I made a mistake, so it looks like Nixon leads the team in ERA, and Dome is right behind him. 2 more guys I want to mention. Right-handed pitcher Colby Holcomb, who can extend as well. 32 1/3 innings pitched, 27 hits. He does have swing and miss stuff as well, and 44 Ks for Holcomb. And then finally, a lefty out the pen, freshman lefty Brock Tapper with 13 appearances and 18 Ks. So an inning or 2 from him, it looks like on the year per outing for Tapper. All right, moving on here at the 60 feet 6 inches LSU podcast. Let's get into the 3 keys for the weekend. All right, don't roll your eyes. But my first key, look, this goes without saying, but to me, last weekend was the straw that finally broke the camel's back. Don't yell at me in the car or in the office or wherever it is. I know the pitching has been bad, but they've gotten by with it, right? But it broke the camel's back last weekend. Outside of Skenes, to me, the whole staff has got to throw more strikes, right? That's not breaking news. It's not a hot take. Very obvious. But when you've won every series up until now and you've gotten away with it in a sense, it hasn't cost you in series until it actually did against Auburn. And that also coincided with a rough weekend for the hitters as well. I don't know if y'all had a chance to listen to Patrick Coogan and Matthew Musso on the live stream we did against Bama a couple of weekends ago. And then I had Doug Thompson on after the Kentucky series. But both of those guys did an excellent job in breaking down the pitchers. And they really just talked about a mindset from a pitching perspective, no matter who it is, attack the strike zone early in counts. As a pitcher in college baseball, you cannot be afraid to miss over the middle of the plate. Okay? You can't be afraid to get hit. You have to be aggressive. You have to have an attack mindset on every pitch. That way, if you miss over the middle, we just hope that it's down. If you miss over the middle, you hope that it's early in the count. They also have the ability to flip in breaking balls or changeups for strikes. Okay, when I say flip in, I mean almost like a get me over curveball, 0-0, 1-0, maybe even 1-1 at times. There's been too many times where you see 0-0 curveballs or sliders, and they're in the dirt or in the other batter's box. Then they try to throw it again, and it's the same thing. They should be able to, if they miss that bad, they should be able to, by now, in their college careers, correct their release point and get that pitch in for a strike. They don't have to live on the corners with every fastball that they throw. It's been proven. You've seen it from other SEC pitchers, okay? The Vail kid, the lefty from Auburn, was a great example of this. 88 to 90, 91, right? He's like a 1990s ace. That's who the aces were. That's who he reminded me of. 88 to 91 from the left, average breaking ball, a little slider, and he just got guys to chase fastballs up in the zone, and he challenged the LSU hitters. Okay, the LSU pitching staff should do the same thing. You don't have to throw strike one on the black, and half the time they don't give you the black anymore. Just throw strike one on the outer third. Okay, throw your two seam down the middle and let it move to the outer third. That way you can get 0-1. Just be aggressive in the strike zone. State's going to swing, all right? But they do have some hitters that are going to take walks. And I think the way State stays in the series this weekend is if you put runners on base and then you bring up Ledbetter, Hines, Clark, Jordan, guys that can run the ball out the ballpark, all right? The second key for me this weekend, maybe by now the shackles are off, right? Part of the pressure has been relieved on this LSU team. They lost the series. You aren't number one anymore. You got run ruled, okay? So you got humbled a little bit. Not a bad thing. If they weren't playing pressure-free, which I doubt that they were, I hope a lot of that weight has been lifted off their shoulders by now. Remember, these guys are trying to rebuild the program in a sense, right? They're trying to get back to Omaha. They don't really know how to get past the super regional. These freshmen are trying to learn how to win at the collegiate level. At the same time, some of these veterans are learning how to win, or they've been thrust into new roles, right? They're learning how to perform under pressure. They also haven't been used to taking everybody's best shot every weekend, right? Just because you have LSU on your chest the past 2 or 3 years, you're not the number one ranked team, okay? Now that you are, you're going to get everybody's max effort. People are going to heighten their focus and concentration against you, and they're going to give you their best shot for 9 innings. Now they're also learning how to perform under external and internal pressure, whether that pressure is real or perceived. And saying all those things, hopefully now you can move on to statements like, look, we're going to go all gas, no brakes right now. We're going to empty the tank. Maybe they have, quote unquote, something to prove now. You can apply those things if you want now, and maybe that fuels them for the remainder of the year. But to me, a key for this weekend is after all that stuff that happened in Auburn, one, they're still a very good baseball team, okay? Hopefully they can just relax. Look, school's out, exams are over. All they have to worry about is baseball, coming to the ballpark, hanging out with their boys, coming together as a team. And I'm sure they had some talks between themselves last week is, how do we move forward? We haven't been playing great baseball, haven't been playing good in all three phases of the game, okay? How do we move forward together and nip that in the bud? because it is getting late early. Okay, SEC is wrapping up SEC tournament, and before you know it, the College World Series is going to be here very quickly. And if they want to get there, they just have to turn some things around and start playing more consistent collectively as a team. The third key for the weekend: can't let. Last weekend I said you couldn't let Ware and McMurray beat you, and I don't really think that they did. This weekend, right? State is a desperate team. Okay, so you can't let Ledbetter, Hines, and I'm going to pick Larry beat you. I know Kellen Clark and Dakota Jordan have some pop, and Hines is your biggest power threat, bar none. Top 5 in the country in home runs, right? You cannot let Hunter Hines hit 3 home runs this weekend. You can't let Ledbetter go 6 for 11 with 3 stolen bases. The same with Amani Larry, okay? He can't go 3 for 7 with 4 stolen bases and 4 walks. That's just a recipe for trouble, all right? Larry's going to be at the bottom of the order. You can't let him turn the lineup over with walks and set the table for Ledbetter and Hines and those guys, okay? So when I look at scouting reports and who I would highlight, those guys, and I think that's my last key for the weekend for the Tigers.